Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we are continuing on in a series of gait deviations following a neurologic injury. And today we're going to be talking about a leg that is abducted from midline, meaning it stays way out to the side. In this video, you're going to learn what causes this after a neurologic injury, and of course, things that you can start doing today to bring that leg back closer to midline and improve your walking speed, efficiency, and decrease your risk of falling. If you're new to this channel, I'm Tara. I'm a neurologic physical therapist, and on this channel we talk about anything and everything related to mobility, health, fitness, and mindset, with the end goal of empowering you with as many tools as possible to take full ownership of your rehab and your overall health. And before we dive into today's video, if you are someone who feels like your rehab is kind of stagnated or you've plateaued, we have developed a membership program that was designed with you in mind. With our highest tier membership program, you get access to an entire vault of physical therapy exercises specifically designed to recover or restore movement after a neurologic injury. They are the exercises that I give to my patients that I see in person. As a member, you just have access to that entire vault of exercises. They are in a software system where you can filter through based on your specific goals and the movement problems that you are dealing with, pull them over into your own program, save it, and easily come back to that every time you log in. In addition to that, as a gold member, you have access to our monthly Ask Me Anything questions where you can get your specific questions answered, and access to our monthly webinars. To learn more about our membership programs, to sign up, or to schedule a discovery call where you can talk to someone in person to see if our program is right for you, head on over to rehab-hq.com, and I look forward to seeing you on the inside. But now, back to the gait deviation of the day, and that is a leg that is abducted from midline, meaning it's way out to the side. So first, let's just talk about what this might feel like if you're someone that is dealing with this so that you can see if this is you or not. A couple of things that you might be experiencing is that you have wrist pain in the uninvolved wrist. So if you use a cane, then you will feel that you're putting a lot of pressure on that cane. That's one potential sign that your leg is abducted from midline. And the reason for that is when the leg is way out to the side, when you pick this leg up, because your center of mass is way over to the inside of this foot, the only thing that's going to support you to hold you up is your assistive device. And so therefore you'll feel a lot of wrist pain. Now, if you are someone that was provided with a hemi walker when you were in the hospital, or maybe when you went to outpatient after the hospital, there's a good chance that your leg is abducted from midline. Total tangent, not part of this video, but I am not a fan of hemi walkers. I do not even think they should exist for people after a stroke or a neurologic injury, because it gives you so much support on this side. And because this side is weaker after a stroke, it just will encourage you, or it'll train your brain to just put a lot of weight on that hemi walker because it's very safe and secure, and our brains are very adaptable and it'll adapt to that assistive device. But if you are someone that used a hemi walker, there's a good chance your leg is abducted from midline. The other thing that you might feel, and this would also indicate that you potentially have a leg that's abducted from midline, is you can hear this foot hitting the ground, okay? And it feels really loud. That's another sign that this leg's probably abducted from midline, and you can see why that might be. Same thing I said earlier, your center of mass is way over to the inside of that foot, and so you just can't keep that foot off the ground for very long, and you kind of slam it down into the ground. And then for a lot of you, you can see it, or someone will point it out to you, or you kind of bump this leg into the side of your walker or your rollator if it's out to the side, and that would also indicate that your leg is abducted from midline. Now, what causes this? That's the million-dollar question. Now, in this series, we've gone over spasticity, and we've gone over abnormal synergy patterns. and we've gone over the inability to disassociate, meaning separating your left side from your right side. If you haven't watched those videos, I explain what all of those terms mean in those videos. I'm not going to re-explain them in this video. All of the previous videos in this series are linked in the description below. I highly recommend that you watch them in order. But any one of those issues, spasticity, abnormal synergy patterns, the inability to dissociate, or weakness, and maybe multiple of those things, can cause that leg to stay abducted from midline. Why? Because any one of those kind of abnormal movement problems in this leg will make you lose confidence in this leg. Okay, so anything we've talked about in a previous video, if you know you have spasticity, stretch. If you know that you have an abnormal synergy pattern, you want to work out of synergy exercises. The thing we're going to cover in this video is a progression of activities where we can build your confidence putting weight on that leg. Okay, so regardless of whether or not it's spasticity, an abnormal synergy pattern, or any of the things in the previous videos, we need to restore your confidence in that leg, and then you don't really need to know the root cause. If it's because you're putting too much weight on an assistive device, just building your confidence on that leg will fix it, right? So that's what we're going to go through today. But there's two things that are unique to this walking pattern that I have not talked about yet. The first one is sometimes people do this because they have lost orientation to midline. It is something that happens after a stroke or damage to one side of your brain. So if this is my brain's perception of middle, right where my nose is, sometimes after a neurologic injury, that perception of middle will shift, okay? So when you're over here, if this is your involved leg, you feel like you're in the middle. Okay, so if your midline shifts, you're gonna align with that and you're gonna feel like you're in the middle when you're really not in the middle. A couple of ways you might know if this is happening to you is if your therapist is trying to correct you and put you in middle and you feel like they're trying to push you over. You feel like they're trying to make you off balance. I used to hear that a lot when I was earlier in my career. I've learned over the years, not when someone has this inability to orient to midline, not to pull someone in that direction. But it's very common. Caregivers also do it. So if you feel like your caregiver or your therapist is knocking you over, I promise you, they're an outsider looking in. They are not trying to make you fall. So what they are seeing and what you are feeling are not aligned, and there's a very good chance that you have lost your orientation to midline. The other thing, the reason that you might do this that we haven't covered in another video that will be covered today, is you've lost the ability to either coordinate your muscles to lateral weight shift or lateral weight shift and anterior weight shift. So our center of mass moves slightly laterally and slightly forward. So if there was a clock on the ground, I tell people that it's slight, but you're kind of like aiming towards that 1 o'clock. Okay, it's slight, but that's what we do. We shift on a little bit this way. Why is that? Because we're going from 2 columns holding up the structure to 1 column, and we're advancing our body forward. So we also need to anterior weight shift our center of mass. So it's kind of like our center of mass is moving towards that 1 o'clock spot if there was a clock on the ground. Okay, so what we're going to do today, we're going to start at the beginning and go through a progression of exercises to build your confidence on this leg. And at the same time, we're just going to be, based on the exercises, working on that lateral weight shift and the anterior weight shift. But that's what I want you guys focused on. Getting confident on that leg, with all the progression we go through today and working on lateral weight shift and anterior weight shift. Okay, so that you can get out of that walking pattern. All right, so now let's go ahead and dive into the exercises. All right, so it's been a long time since I've brought the frame out, probably a couple of years. But for those of you that are new, this is by far the cheapest and the best piece of equipment that you can have if you're working on restoring your walking after a neurologic injury. It's just a PVC pipe, pipes from Home Depot. I recommend like 1.5 inch thickness because you want something that's pretty sturdy. And you want something that's about chest height and is quite a bit wider than shoulder width apart. Okay, as far as this distance across here. Love it, love it, love it. So especially if you're someone that uses an assistive device, a one-sided assistive device, the setup is critical to loading this involved leg. This will help to bring you back to midline almost automatically if you're someone that's been using a one-sided assistive device. Okay, you're just gonna stand and you're gonna shift. Okay, we're loading the involved leg. If you have an arm that can't hold on, I highly recommend that you strap the hand to the bar, and you're gonna shift. And then you're gonna shift and you're going to lift your opposite heel. Now we're loading this leg a little bit more, okay? So it's a shift and lift. Shift and lift. Remember what I said, we're learning how to load this leg. Shift and lift. One little modification I'm going to give you, if you're doing this at home and you don't feel confident shifting over to that side, what you can add is like a chair or a couch, something very, very sturdy. I pushed this chair up against the wall because obviously it's a very lightweight chair. And then move your foot about 6 inches away or about 1 fist away from that piece of furniture. And what you can do is shift and actually lean into it. Okay, what you're looking for is you want your belly button directly over this leg. And so for a lot of you, you don't feel comfortable there. You feel comfortable more with your belly button over the arch of your foot. You are trying to get your belly button directly over the shoelaces on this leg. Okay, and you're just gonna shift. Again, use that chair so you have something to lean against on that side, and you're gonna lift the opposite heel. Okay, once you can do that, you're gonna shift, lift the opposite heel, and now I have like a little furniture slider underneath this foot. You're just gonna do a little slide. Puts a little bit more demand on this leg. The trick is, the goal is you don't wanna be drifting back over this way, which is what happens quite frequently. So your job is to maintain that belly button directly over the laces on this shoe and slide it out. Slide it out. That's kind of like what I would call progression 2. And then the next progression is you're going to shift, lift, maintain that belly button directly over this foot with a little bit of a soft knee, and you're gonna step right on the front of the pipe and down. Step on it and down. Try not to lock this knee out. And again, that belly button, your nose, everything wants to be directly over this foot, up and down. Now we're gonna incorporate that anterior weight shift. So you're gonna shift, lift, step on the pipe, and then step over. Okay, we're trying to get a little bit of that anterior weight shift and that lateral weight shift. Remember, we're aiming for that 1 o'clock, right? So you're gonna shift, lift the heel, feel yourself balanced on that leg, step on it and down. If that feels okay, step over it. and back. The reason I like a frame like this is because it allows you to shift forward, and you can still put some downward pressure on here. I have some drawer liners on the bottom of this. You definitely either want to do it on carpet or have something like Dyson works as well. For those of you that know what that is, you don't need to go out and buy anything. But if you already have Dyson, you can duct tape some Dyson to the bottom of it. But you don't want it to slide. You want it to be able to move forward and backward with you, but side to side, it gives you a little bit more stability, right? So it might make you more likely, or might make it easier for you to kind of shift towards that side, okay? So shift, soft knee, tap up, tap over, tap on it, and back down. Everything we just went over are for those of you that have been using an assistive device for a very long time, or you're very, very early on in the recovery. That frame is absolutely invaluable. But then from there, if you're a little bit higher level, or you've been walking without an assistive device for a while, but you've been told, or you can tell that your foot is always just kind of out to the side and you're really slamming this leg down, then the next progression, or the next more challenging set of exercises, is we need to start bringing the uninvolved leg into midline and then crossing midline. Now, what a lot of you are going to feel is you're going to feel a lot of pressure on your pinky toe, and many, many times, especially if you've been walking this way for a while with your leg out to the side, getting on that pinky toe is kind of like getting on the edge of the cliff, right? It's much safer to stay on this side of the cliff because you have this leg over here. But when you start to get towards that pinky toe, where there's pressure on your pinky toe, it's a little bit scarier. And so that's why a lot of times, like, we just kind of avoid that. But then also, what I said at the very beginning, many, many times people lose that ability to coordinate their muscles to do that lateral weight shift. Okay, so this next exercise is going to address both of those issues. So what you're going to do is you're going to start with the chair again, about a fist away from the chair. You're going to shift and just lean up against the chair. Get very comfortable there. Now, you're going to feel that pressure on the pinky toe side of your foot. What I want you to focus on is don't let the big toe come up. So you want to like actively feel like you're not letting the arch or the inside of the foot come up, right? So that's going to keep you from falling off the edge of the cliff, right? So if you can look at my foot, many of you feel like you're there. Okay, so you want to actively try and keep the arch of your foot down, or the big toe down, as you shift over. That's very, very important, especially when we start walking. Okay, so you want to shift over, and when you do that, try and keep the arch of your foot down. And then you want to take this foot and just step it in front and back out. Now, if you're doing this for the first time, you want a caregiver or someone standing over here, because many, many times people will bring that foot over there. But again, whether it's because you've lost orientation to midline, or you're just used to having your center of mass way over here, you can lose your balance and fall, right? So that weight shift is really, really critical. And just trust me on this. Most of you think you're shifted over enough and you're not, okay? So make sure you start with that first progression, holding on to something before you advance to this. And then try and have someone like a caregiver over here the first couple of times you do this. But you're going to shift, kind of lean right up against that chair, belly button directly over the foot, and you want to tap this foot in line. If you feel like you want to fall that way, it's because your center of mass isn't over far enough. You got to move that center of mass over further. And then you're just going to hold it as long as you can, trying not to come off. Just trust me on this. If you haven't tried it yet, it's very, very common that you're going to want to drift away from that, right? Either because you can't weight shift that way, or because you're just not comfortable being on that side of your foot. Okay? And then once you get good at that, we're going to move the leg away just a little bit, and we're going to hover. So you're still going to have the chair here, and you're going to step your feet in line, and you know it's there to catch you if you start to go a little bit too far, but we're going to try and hover and not touch it, and then step back. Straight line, and step back. Okay, once you get really good at that, still hovering. Okay, I'm gonna put it this way so you can see it straight on, but you definitely want the chair up against something. Still hovering, you're gonna cross it over, right? And if I go too far, this chair, I like a couch because they're super heavy, is gonna stop me, prevent me from falling, and then step back. So you're doing that weight shift and a little bit of an anterior weight shift. And your job is to get that foot all the way on the other side of the foot. And back. All the way on the other side of the foot. And back. Okay? Now we're going to do the same thing to the back. Very, very important. Especially as you build confidence on this leg, just expect that you're not always going to get it right, and sometimes you're going to shift too far. You have to know how to do what we call a stepping strategy. So a stepping strategy is kind of like a fall prevention strategy, and it means that when your center of mass gets disrupted and it's outside your base of support, if you can't bring your center of mass back within your base of support, we will resort to what we call a stepping strategy, which is at literally moving the base underneath the center of mass, right? So our first strategy is that if we get perturbed off balance, is that we use our legs to bring us back within our base. If we're too far off balance and we can't bring ourselves back, our next set of strategies is we move our base of support with a stepping strategy. You want to know how to do a stepping strategy in both directions if you're trying to build your confidence on this leg. Okay, so we did in front already. Now we're going to do behind, still having something over here, and then back. You step behind. I call it like a curtsy. And back. Absolutely love a curtsy. Step behind and back. Everything we're doing, we're trying to get that lateral weight shift. Again, remember, you don't really need to know if it's spasticity or an abnormal synergy pattern or weakness or you're not oriented to midline. Just working these drills is going to work all of those issues. So don't spend too much time thinking about what exactly is the root cause. If you're here and you're doing this and this is how you're walking, we just need to work on lateral weight shift, anterior weight shift, and build confidence standing on this leg. And then the last set of drills, and I recommend you do this one in a corner, and this is for those of you that are a little bit more advanced. You're going to do a weight shift without holding on to anything. Yoga block in between your feet, tap the yoga block, and down. Okay, no chair, nothing like that. When you get good at that, you flip the yoga block, you shift, belly button over the foot, tap it and down. Now, if you tap it and it does that, that means that you did not weight shift enough. And that means you need to stay right here and keep working on this before we go on to the next exercise. Okay, and then if you want to make it even harder, you can turn the yoga block so that it's up tall, shift, soft knee, tap up and down. This is for those of you, especially if you can't dissociate your right from your left, getting this knee flexed up like this. See my legs? They're very dissociated, meaning they're doing complete opposite things. And if you can't dissociate, this is going to be very hard. So being able to tap up onto something that's a lot higher like that, super, super valuable. Okay? And down. And then from there, with the yoga block, what you want to do is you want to start with your involved leg. This is the leg we're working, right next to the yoga block. This foot's behind it. And you're going to step on it and over. This will keep you honest because the yoga block is about the length of your foot. In normal walking, we step all the way past our other leg. If you're someone that's had a neurologic injury and you have this walking problem that we're talking about today, you haven't done that in a long time. right? Usually this leg stays out in front just a little bit. So this is really addressing the anterior weight shift component. So this foot right next to it, right next to the block, you want to step on it and then over. And then on it and then back. Okay? I'm going to show that to you again. This foot starts behind it. You're going to step on it, over, back on it, and back. And then the final activity is to walk along a wall. Have a wall on your involved side, and you're going to try and walk what we call in tandem. So one foot directly in front of the other. Okay, and what are we working on? We're working on that lateral weight shift and that anterior weight shift, toe to heel. Okay, and you want to try and do that forwards and backwards. The reason you want that wall on that side is because you want something over there that's going to make you feel comfortable shifting over to that side, and then just toe to heel. That is it for this video. I hope that helps some of you. I know for some of you this is a review, but for those of you that might be newer to this channel, it's been a while since I've gone through this entire progression, and really it's been a while since I've addressed this issue of having that foot abducted from midline. Don't forget, we do have our membership program. If you are someone who's really struggling to get to that next level in your neuro rehab program, and you feel like you just have so many more goals that you want to accomplish, our program was designed with you in mind. So if you really want to unlock your full potential, check out our membership program. I guarantee you it's going to upgrade what you're currently doing. To learn more about our programs and to sign up, you can visit rehab-hq.com. I enjoyed spending time with you all today, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a good day.